This is Cynthia Curry, Integration Mentor for the MLTI. Classroom test results can be a source of products in Ann Davies' triangulation of evidence of student learning. Combined with evidence from observations and conversations, test results can inform next steps for instruction. For this presentation, a test is defined as a series of select response items, such as multiple choice, true, false, and labeling of figures, as well as short answer prompts. Tests are good for measuring declarative or factual knowledge of predetermined objectives. But not all tests are made accessible, meaning that the need for accommodations for students with disabilities is minimized. Accessible tests have items that are decipherable, appearance that is legible, and readability across instructions and items. Students need to be able to read questions accurately in order to answer them correctly. This is universal design because the elements that make a test accessible to students with disabilities improve its design and delivery for all students. When a test is accessible, the accuracy of student responses likely improves, which in turn improves the validity of the collection of evidence. First, providing a test in digital format increases the options that students have for responding to the items. This flexibility means that students have options of multiple methods for both displaying the test items and how they respond to them. The keyword here on out is options. The first option is text appearance. Students can change the text size, font, and color contrast for their individual needs and preferences, maximizing the legibility of each item on the test. They can also create more white space by increasing margins and line spacing. Here's an example from a true-false section of a science test on bones, muscles, and skin. The version provided by the teacher has standard text size of 12, font of Times New Roman, black on white contrast, and typical white space. Upon receipt, our Phantom student increased the text size to 16, changed the font to Verdana, increased the contrast between text and background, and created more white space by adjusting margins and line spacing. Another reason for digital tests is that test items can be read aloud by a computer. If measuring reading proficiency, then providing the option of computer speech will render the test invalid. But for other purposes, allowing this option for all students may result in more accurate evidence of learning. Here's an example.
If you happen to get acid on your hands, what should you do? A. Run around the room, waving your hands in the air shouting. B. Apply baking soda immediately to neutralize the acid. C. Wash your hands with water. D. Wipe your hands on your clothes.
You may be asking yourself, test questions can be read aloud to students by school personnel, so why have a computer do it? First, a test reader is typically an accommodation rather than an option for all. Second, the option of text-to-speech gives students independence and control. The third reason for a digital test is voice recording, which is an option to verbally record responses to test items. Provision of this option also depends on the purpose of the test. For example, if measuring writing proficiency, then providing the option of voice recording will render the test invalid. Here's an example of voice recording. Here's a test on the Holocaust that's been created in NoteShare. Here in the short answer section is the question, how did the Germans define who is Jewish? To embed a voice recording, choose the voice memo tool and speak into your microphone. I'll record just an opening statement. The Germans defined a Jewish person on November 14, 1935. The recording is embedded right on the page. The Germans defined a Jewish person on November 14, 1935. You may be asking yourself, a scribe can record student responses to test questions, so why allow voice recording? First, a scribe is typically an accommodation rather than an option for all. Second, the option of voice recording gives students independence and control. There's a lot more to universally designing classroom tests, but starting with the digital test and providing the options of adjusting text appearance, using text-to-speech, and voice recording responses are significant first steps.